Hello again, fight fans. I'm Michael Montero for Boxing Monthly. You're watching the Neutral Corner for the week of November 19th. So, what happened last week in the world? Not a whole lot. Nothing really big or important. Holy shit, Donald Trump! Wow, nobody saw that coming. I think the news and notes this week, I'm going to give my thoughts on this election. I've put this off, okay? But some of you have asked my thoughts on this thing. Some of you already know. If you don't like politics and you just want to get to the boxing, skip ahead to the fight review. I'll put the timestamps in the description below. Or else, if you want to hear my opinion on this, check it out. News and notes this week, election. So, wow, Donald Trump, the businessman, the guy who is more of a reality TV show star personality than anything else, is going to be the next leader of the free world coming up January 2017. And look, I did not see this coming. Just like 99% of you out there, I know that there's some of you who called this. Yes, there is, and I know you'll comment below, Montero, I knew the whole time, shut up. I got it. The vast majority of people, the pundits, the pollsters, the politicians, the people in charge, all over, not just in America, but in the entire Western world, thought Hillary Clinton was gonna win this thing. At least the overwhelming majority. So it was just a shock to see it happen. Now, those of you who follow me pretty consistently, especially if you follow me like on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, you know where I stand politically. I'm an independent. I really don't align with either party. I think there are good and bad parts to both parties, to all philosophies. I try to be as middle of the road as I can. But I think the bases of both major parties in this country have gone so far to each side, whether it's the left or the right, that they're almost out of touch with reality. They're just almost delusional at this point. And an example of that kind of is this election. Because if you look at California, this state overwhelmingly went for Clinton, right? And if you look at places like Southern California, particularly Los Angeles, I mean, it was like 8-2, 9-1 in parts of LA, San Francisco, New York. And outside of that, the rest of the country was pretty much 50-50. If you look at the actual popular vote, it was very, very close, almost 50-50, right? So that tells you how out of touch I guess the power brokers in America are. Washington, D.C. went, I think it was like 94, 92% for Hillary Clinton. The District of Columbia was that biased in the way that they voted. And that is the government establishment. Here in Los Angeles, this is the media and entertainment establishment, and it went way for Hillary. So there's just a little bit out of touch when it comes to both party bases, because there are parts of this country that wait 90% for Trump. So it's just, but those parts of the country don't have any power. They don't have any political power. They don't have a lot of money. The power structure in this country right now, the mainstream media, the people in charge, the celebrities, all that, they went hardcore one way, almost 100% in many cases. And you see just how out of touch that establishment is with the people in this country right now. And I think that's really, as an independent guy just looking at this saying, yo, I didn't like either candidate, I didn't vote for either one of them. I've just been thinking about this and like, how did we get here? And I think that in the end, this election was a repudiation of the mainstream media and academia, celebrity culture, and Barack Obama to a degree, because these things, the pendulum swings back and forth, left and right. It goes conservative for a while, it goes liberal for a while. It doesn't go too far either way most of the time, but the last 8 years, it's gone pretty far to the liberal side. So I think that there is just a pendulum swing, man. But I want to talk about the reaction. I live in Los Angeles. You guys know this. And I don't live in the suburbs. I don't like live out in Studio City or Santa Monica or some shit and say, yeah, I live in LA. No, I live in the inner city. I live right in the middle of LA. I'm 3 miles from downtown. I live right in the city center, right? So I'm dealing with thousands of these damn protesters every day now for the last week. They're making traffic insane. This city is already insane. Now it's even more insane. Today we had high school kids just walking out of class, just in the middle of the day, because they're so upset about the new president. High school kids. What the hell do high school kids know about anything? Obviously, this is being taught to them by their parents and their teachers. I talked about the establishment and all that stuff, but it's happening at the root level there. These high school kids are so, just traumatized that they got to walk out of class and get in my freaking way when I'm trying to drive from work or home or whatever it is. It's killing me, you guys. Relax. It's going to be okay. For a lot of the people here just losing their shit, and also in other parts of the country as well, it's just happening here more than anywhere else. A lot of you are hypocrites. And I'm not even talking about the social justice warrior people. You people are freaking nuts anyway. I'm talking about the people that were mad a couple weeks ago. I think it was the last debate when Donald Trump said that, how did he put it? That if Hillary Clinton won, I think he was asked if Hillary Clinton won, because he kept saying the election's rigged, the election's rigged. And the commentator asked him, if Hillary Clinton wins, will you accept that she wins? And he said, no, I'm not going to accept it. And everyone went nuts. All the pundits, all the people were saying, that's deplorable. How could he say that? That's just disgusting. Oh my God, what a horrible person. And now all the pundits, all the media people, all the celebrities, and thousands of people just here in Los Angeles are not accepting the outcome of the election. The democratic process, the people spoke. A lot of people, millions of people just didn't go out and vote, or they voted independent like I did, or they wrote in Harambe, the dead gorilla, or some people wrote in Abraham Lincoln. I heard like over 1,000 people wrote in Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln can't win the election. He's dead, okay? Millions of people either just completely trolled or just didn't show up to the polls, but the people who did show up spoke. And now all these people that were complaining about stuff that Trump said are acting the same way. It's just so hypocritical. And, you think about real corruption, the Democrat National Committee, there's evidence of this through emails and things that were leaked that they colluded at the top to silence Bernie Sanders so that Hillary Clinton could win. The head of the DNC had to resign because of the controversy. And what does Hillary Clinton do? She hires this woman to be on her staff immediately after she has to resign for corruption charges. She hires her. So that just brings me to how we got here. Because that's what I've been thinking about. How the hell did we get here? Wherever you lie politically, I don't give a shit. Again, you guys know I pretty much shoot right down the middle. But I look at this and I'm just like, how did this happen? How did the biggest outsider ever, at least in the modern era, in terms of presidential candidates, become the president, the leader of the free world? How did this happen? A guy with zero political experience. Whether you agree with his policies or not, he has no experience. We have nothing to base anything he says on, other than like the business world or whatever, and reality TV shows and beauty pageants. And some boxing. The dude likes boxing, and you put on some cards back in the day. So hey, maybe boxing will get a shot in the arm here. But how did this happen, right? Well, looking at this, there were two change candidates in this election. You had Bernie Sanders, and what he represented on the left is kind of like the left wing's Tea Party. Okay, it's the far, far left, their version of their Tea Party, their grassroots kind of base. He represented socially what that base is all about. And you had Donald Trump, who kind of is all over the place politically. He said he's a conservative and stuff, but if you look at the way the guy's lived his life, he's not really a conservative. He's not a diehard Christian, so he really doesn't appeal to the right-wing base. I think his VP candidate does, but he appealed to people on that side of the fence who wanted change, who wanted an outsider. So even though Bernie Sanders wasn't an outsider, he represented change, and so did Donald Trump. Whether you agree with the change or you think it's scarier than hell They represented change, something new. And the people in charge on the left silenced Bernie and pushed him out. The people on the right give the Republican National Committee credit. They listened to their constituents. And even the establishment of that party wanted to get Donald Trump out of there, but their people spoke, and he won that nomination process, free and clear. There was no corruption or anything. He won fair and square, and they listened to their people. And they didn't like it, but they said, all right, shit, this is our candidate. I guess we'll make the best of it and hope for the best, in 4 years. They basically just tucked their tail between their legs because they thought they were going to lose. But on the left, they said, oh, no, we want this woman. So we're going to do everything we can to push this dude out. And then Bernie, I think, made it worse because he talked about revolution and fighting for the people, and this is a movement. And then he sold out. The second he got pushed out, he sold out for the woman who screwed him over and the party that screwed him over. Bernie should have ran as an independent, as a socialist, because he's not a Democrat, he's a socialist. He should have ran as a third-party socialist. He should have walked the walk. He talked the talk during the primary. He got screwed in the ass with no lube, and he took it like a champ and towed the line because he knew Hillary would give him a cabinet position as soon as she won. That was his thinking. So all those things combined contributed to getting us here, right? Here's another thing. Hillary Clinton was doing concerts with Jay-Z and Beyonce, and she had all these celebrities saying, I'm moving to Canada if Trump wins. Who gives a shit? Regular people don't care what Jay-Z thinks, or Beyonce, or Cher, or any of these actresses or actors that said they were going to leave the country if Trump wins. No one gives a shit. And in fact, the arrogance of that, when you really think about it, let's take Cher, okay? I actually liked Cher back in the day. Back in her time, Cher was a fine woman, all right? Back in her time, she was a good-looking woman. And she did some nice work in acting and music and stuff. I'm a fan of Cher back in the day. But she and people like her thought that just by them saying, I will leave the country if you vote for this guy, they thought that would scare the shit out of enough people that it would influence the election. That's literally what these people, and most of them live here where I live, not where I live, like 100 miles away, but they live close to where I live. They really thought they could influence this election by threatening to leave. That's how arrogant these people are. And the way the people voted was a direct screw you to those people. And the Democratic National Committee hangs out with all these people. They're all buddies, and the media fall right in line. They're all buddies. It's an echo chamber. They all think and act the same way. What makes me say this? Well, beyond tons of data we have to suggest where people vote and everything that live in Hollywood and in the media and all that, I live here. You guys know I dabble in the entertainment industry. I was actually in a workshop, a Hollywood workshop Tuesday night during the election, and people were crying, grown adults. And I had to sit back and try not to laugh at them. And I'm like, dude, I don't like Donald Trump. I don't support or endorse the guy, but you're going to fucking cry? You're going to cry? We're trying to get some work done here. We're working on a project, some stuff we're doing, and you're crying over this election? My workshop was supposed to be done at 10 p.m. We didn't get done till midnight because people were so upset. We couldn't get our work done. That's the town. That's LA. And LA basically runs America. Let me explain that. LA runs America because LA writes the social narrative in America. If you think about academia, they're influenced by everything that happens here in LA. If you think of media, there's still a media footprint in New York and a couple other smaller markets, but it's almost all in Los Angeles now. A lot of it's left New York, it's here. And the vast, overwhelming majority of the entertainment industry, whether it be music, TV, movies, whatever it is. Theater is still in New York for the most part, but theater has this much influence on American culture. All the other stuff I'm talking about is here. All the social media platforms are here in California. You just go up the highway here and you hit Silicon Valley, and that's where Twitter and all that stuff is headquartered, all the technology companies, it's all out here. This area runs America and controls and writes the social narrative and silences some people, emboldens other people. And the difference now is with the internet, the masses are starting to get educated and catch up to the bullshit, and they're starting to reject it. And when you tell half of the country, literally every single day, actually more than half, that they're racist just because of the ancestry of where their family comes from, just for being born, the ethnicity that they're born, how do you think they're going to react? When you tell people that they're misogynist and sexist just because they have a penis, regardless of how they think, before they get up and walk out of bed in the morning, they are contributing to the patriarchy and oppressing every woman on earth. When you tell a poor working class man that's struggling just to get by that he's oppressing a millionaire woman, he's going to look at you and go, what? What? And that's essentially what the establishment in this country is doing. And you guys have seen examples of the brainwashed trolls that invade this channel and others like it that tell the truth about this stuff as it filters down to boxing, because boxing is a mirror of society in so many ways. You guys see the result of it right here. This is a freaking boxing channel. So how do you think it's going to affect everyday life? High school kids right now are literally not even a mile from my house. It's right down the street. You go that way and you go that way. There's a big high school, not even a mile from here. And kids are walking around chanting. It's at night. It's after hours. They're not even supposed to be in school right now, right? The bell rang hours ago and they're out there screaming racist, misogynist. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They've been programmed this shit. But a lot of adults that are of voting age are getting sick of being blamed for everything and a finger being pointed at them. And as a result of this stuff, you saw many counties in states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, states that either go, that almost always go Democrat or are purple states, which means they kind of fluctuate back and forth, but are kind of center-left states. They swung to the right, because those counties with working class people that are sick of being told they are the problem and the cause of every problem on earth right now just because of the demographic they belong to. And by the way, how is that not the epitome of racism, prejudice, and sexism or classism? That's what I don't get. You're like, yo, you're the racist, but you're judging an entire group of people because of their race, and you are trying to tell them what they're doing just because of their race, as if you have some astute knowledge of what's going on in the entire planet and what that person's thinking in their heart and their mind. The hypocrisy, man. The hypocrisy is crazy. And by the way, it's not just the left wing. The right wing does this shit too. Okay, and now you have a lot of far-right wackos gloating right now and thinking that, this is just, this means that their side's won and everything. No, dude, it's still, like, again, the pendulum swings. And, it's going to go back and forth. But like, look, this whole thing where we're just pointing fingers and calling everyone that we disagree with racist or sexist or homophobic, anything with an ist or a phobe at the end of it. That whole tactic, that used to be a right-wing tactic. Back in the 80s, during the Reagan era, and maybe it started in the 70s, it was kind of a counterculture to what happened in the 60s and all that, the hippies. That's what the right wing used to do. They used to be the language police. The uber religious right was like, you can't say that word. Jesus doesn't like that. You can't use that language. Jesus will put us all in hell. You can't have an abortion. Hey, you gay guys, you can't touch each other. And some of them still do that, but they used to have real power. Even in the media in this country, they had real power. Now, That swung, and now it's the left wing doing that. And they're saying, you can't say this word. Don't call him or her. Don't call him, him. You have to call her she or it. There's a zillion pronouns we have to call people. You can get fired as a college professor if you use the wrong pronoun to talk about one of your students. That's how insane this country has become. And in completely, I won't say completely, borderline terrorist activist organizations that are being funded, shadow funding by homegrown terrorists that want to blow our shit up, they're getting major play in the mainstream media. And they're given a front, just walk right into the White House. Walk right up and chat with the president, right? These things have just gone too far. And that's all this election was people saying, dude, you need to chill with that. I think a lot of people that voted for Trump don't even like him. I think it was kind of a protest vote. They don't even, look, the guy has no experience. When he first announced that he was going to run, I laughed. I'm like, what the hell is this? He's probably working on some channel or some network or some business thing, and this is just a way to promote his business, and it's going to be a year-long commercial for whatever business he's going to announce in 2017. That's really what I and a lot of people thought. And I think a lot of people that ended up voting for him still think that. They were just like, I'm so fed up with all this crap, all this nonsense, this social justice theology, these social theories that are nothing more than a theory. I don't mean theory in a scientific sense, because gravity is a theory, but we've tested it billions of times, and we know it's real. We can put it in a computer and do simulations. We know gravity's real. We didn't create it. We can measure it, though. But social theories, that's a totally different thing. And when you base these broad generalizations on people with these social theories that are based on a very specific set of data points, but you ignore 90% of the other data points that refute your argument, people are going to start scratching their heads. And when you keep telling a bunch of people that they're evil and wicked and horrible and deplorable, when you tell half the country that they're deplorable people, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? That's where we are. So I wanted to give my rant on it. I'm sorry I talked politics. We'll get back to boxing now. But that's how I see this election, and that's how I think we got here. So all you protesters who are fucking up my day and making traffic even shittier, you're just doing more of the same bullshit that got this guy nominated president. So all you're doing is ensuring his re-election in 2020. Stop being a moron, grow up, and accept the democratic process. That's it. All right, back to boxing. So last Saturday, there was a couple of cards. Let's start over in Monaco, where Luis Ortiz, the Cuban heavyweight, improves to 26-0 with 22 knockouts, scoring a unanimous, basically shutout decision over American Malik Scott. And for Ortiz, this was his first decision, his first time going the full distance since 2010. So, fans have gotten used to seeing him just plow through guys, or at least wear them down and stop them late. That didn't happen here. And a lot of people went to Twitter, the usual Twitter boxing experts, saying that Luis Ortiz was exposed. I don't know if he was necessarily exposed. I don't think we saw anything in this fight that we didn't already know. First of all, Malik Scott, who there were several rounds where he landed one punch. This was a pathetic performance. To his credit, he actually went on Twitter and tweeted out to his followers and said, guys, I'm sorry, this was a really bad performance. I stunk up the joint. He owned it. He did own it, but he owned it after he got paid. You know what I'm saying? So I give him credit, but he still went in there and laid an egg. At least he admits it, but he should never be ranked in the top 20 of any sanctioning organization ever again. He needs to go away. Good sparring partner, good gym fighter, could maybe even make a good trainer one day. You need a guy like that in your gym, but man, that's all he is. He's a sparring partner, nothing more. With Ortiz, we already knew Ortiz had slow feet. we already knew that guys that use movement are gonna, I don't wanna say give him problems, but Scott was completely in defense mode. He did not want to get knocked out. And it's very, very difficult to go in there with a guy who knows how to survive and he's got faster feet than you to get him out of there. So that's what this was to me. Luis Ortiz, look, people were saying this guy's the second, third best heavyweight out there when he beat Bryant Jennings. And he had a lot of momentum after that win. And I definitely think he's a top 10 heavyweight. But we need to pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see. He's an old guy. He's got to be in his 40s. The Cubans, a lot of times when they defect, they lie about their age. People close to his camp have kind of leaked out. The dude's in his 40s. He's up there in age. So he's not going to get any faster and any younger. He needs to get in there and just stay active, even if it's against guys at this level. But with Scott, you know, look, the dude knows how to survive. The only way to get him out of there is to just completely bum rush him. And Ortiz is a guy who has craft. He sets up his punches. He's not going to do that. One thing about Ortiz that he does not do well, that is cut off the ring. He does not do that very well. But how many heavyweights out there are very, very fleet of foot and can get out of range of his punches? Not many. So, look, the jury's still open on Ortiz, but don't write him off yet. It was just, look, he got rounds in, and maybe that's all he really wanted to do. On the undercard, Jason Sosa wins the unanimous decision over Stephen Smith for the first defense of his WBA 130-pound title. Sosa beat Javier Fortuna back in June. He actually took his I believe. And this has been a good year for him. You know, he's been willing to travel to fight in guys' hometowns, and he's really, really had a nice year for himself. So more about Javier Fortuna in a second. We might probably see a rematch between those two, Sosa and Fortuna, in 2017. Also on that undercard, Martin Murray got back in the win column with the unanimous decision win. And here in the United States, in Philly, we'll start with Javier Fortuna. He wins a unanimous decision over Omar Douglas. And for the Dominican, who's now based in Maryland, he lost by, I think it was TKO 11 to Sosa in June, as I said. He actually got dropped in this fight in the first round by Douglas. He's a guy that has a lot of defensive liabilities. He makes a lot of mistakes. But when he gets hurt, he fights back. And that vulnerability plus the decent skill set and the experience and everything that he brings makes him a fun fighter. So when he rematches Sosa next year, which I think they'll do, or really if he fights any of the top guys in that division, I welcome it. I'd love to see those fights. So look, keep your eye on him. He makes for fun fights. And not everyone's going to be elite. Not everyone's going to be undefeated and winning titles in multiple divisions, right? You need guys like this to make for fun, entertaining fights. Also on that undercard, undefeated American prospect Jarrett Hurd scores a 6-round TKO over the Romanian-Canadian Jojo Dan. Hurd is now 19-0 with 13 knockouts. 6'1", 77-inch reach. He was fighting a guy who's listed as 5'9" with a 70-inch reach and is probably a little smaller than that. So this really looked like a high school kid beating up a middle school kid for his lunch money. Having said that, Hurd is a prospect, and this was a test that he had to pass, and he passed it with flying colors. Looked really, really good. Looked very, very calm and comfortable in the ring, set everything up, systematically broke down his opponent. That's what you want to see at this level. But let's see him get in there next year with this caliber of opponent, fine, but guys who are his size. Let's see him in there with guys who are the same size as him, who can punch, and let's see if he passes those tests. But so far, he really, really looks good. One of the better PBC prospects, in my opinion. In the main event, Danny Garcia scores a 7th-round TKO over Samuel Vargas, who he dropped in the first round as well. He wanted this tune-up before fighting Keith Thurman. And of course, they're scheduled to fight March 4th of next year. I don't think they have a venue for that fight yet, but it should probably be in Vegas, I think. And I think it's going to go to network TV, I believe CBS. It'll probably be one of those CBS, PBC on Showtime, or Showtime on CBS, blah, 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 you know, one of those things. They've done that a couple times. For Vargas, he fought against Errol Spence last year and was stopped in the 4th round. He survived a few more rounds against Danny Garcia, and some people are saying that that means Spence is better than Garcia. Look, styles make fights. Garcia is not a guy that blows people out. He sets up his shot. He's a counterpuncher. He likes to throw hooks on the inside. He likes to get you to extend yourself and throw hooks. Extend yourself, throw a right over the top, a looping right. He likes to do that kind of work. So he's a different fighter than Spence. Spence absolutely hits harder, though. I think that's a given. Garcia didn't look great in this fight. This was basically target practice. We all know who was going to win. But if he fights Thurman next March, because Garcia got this work in, he got these 7 rounds in, he got hit a couple times, while Thurman's been sitting on his butt and looked downright chunky. He was calling the fight or doing some guest commentating for the PBC on Spike broadcast. And he got up in the ring after the fight, and there was this whole WWE scene that looked really, really put on and staged between him and Garcia jawing at each other, and they had to be broken up, blah, blah, blah. Thurman looked a little chunky. He's been sitting on his butt since that fight with Sean Porter. He claims that he wanted this fight with Danny Garcia next. He wanted it this fall. But he claims Garcia and his father wanted a tune-up fight first. So whoever you want to believe. One thing I'll say about Keith Thurman, he tends to be a straight shooter. So I tend to believe him. And Danny Garcia didn't deny because Thurman said that right within hearing distance for Garcia, and he didn't deny that. Danny Garcia seems to be about his business, a more cerebral kind of guy. He wanted this tune-up. He got this work in, and he's on weight. They fight in March. I think Danny Garcia has to be the favorite, man. I know a lot of people want to favor Thurman because he's the bigger puncher, but look at who both guys have fought. Garcia has fought much better opposition, much better opposition. Yes, some of it was at 140 pounds, actually most of it, but better quality opposition, period. Now, he probably got a couple gift decisions against those good fighters, but that experience he brings, the different speeds, the different styles he's seen, and the fact that he's been more active and on weight, I think that carries over with him into March. And I think should that fight not get delayed or anything, should it really happen March 4th, I think you got to favor Danny Garcia. Either way, really, really good fight. It might be the best matchup in PBC's brief history so far. So I'm actually looking forward to that one. This Friday, November 18th at the Fantasy Springs Casino here in Southern California, maybe a couple hours outside of Los Angeles, Mauricio Herrera is going up against Pablo Cesar Cano, Mexican fighter. Mauricio's from Riverside, which is not too far from where Fantasy Springs Casino is. So I think his fans are going to travel. I think it's going to be a big, big Mauricio Herrera house. For Mauricio, he lost a shutout decision to Frankie Gomez back in May, and this will be a way for him to get back in a win column. Cano lost his last fight too, I believe. He's lost several. He's one of these journeyman level fighters who's been in there with some really, really good fighters, but both of these guys need a win. For Herrera to get one more big win, or one more big fight, I should say, on network air, maybe not a main event or anything, but maybe a co-feature or something. He needs a big win here, a big, big win. If you can get a big win here, he can maybe get on a co-feature or something next year, some sort of high-profile fight with Golden Boy Promotions. But the big fight, the big card this weekend, obviously, is Saturday in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. Sergey Kovalev going up against Ward. If you haven't seen my breakdown video on this one yet, make sure you check it out. It's on my channel. At the time I'm filming this, it's got maybe 13,000 views. It should have a lot more, damn it. So watch it. If you've already watched it, watch it again. But I'll talk about that fight in a second. Let's talk about the undercard, which is pretty shitty. Pretty shitty. But I like this co-feature a lot. I like Isaac Chilemba is going up against the Ukrainian prospect, Alexander Kovalev-Ward, who is now 11-0 with 9 knockouts. He was the bronze medalist for light heavyweight medalist for Ukraine in the 2012 games. He also had a 9-0 World Series of Boxing record. It's either 9-0 or 10-0. in the World Series of Boxing. So he's another one of these Eastern European prospects. He's with manager Igor Klimas, who also obviously manages Kovalev and Alexander Usyk and several other of these guys. He's one of these guys who comes over from that part of the world, has so much experience. And even though he's only got 11 pro fights right now, he's ready for this fight. For Chilemba, this guy has had tough, competitive fights with Tony Bellew, twice with Tony Bellew, with Eladir Alvarez, who's now the mandatory for Adonis Stevenson, and with Sergey Kovalev, of course, in his last fight. He lost that fight clearly, but he won some rounds and he put some leather on Sergey. Isaac Chilemba, in my opinion, is a top 10 light heavyweight, and he's going to give the Ukrainian prospect a good, stern test, and it will be very, very interesting to see how he looks in this fight. It's a 10-rounder. It's not a 12-rounder. A couple of you guys have asked. It's a 10-rounder. But I like this one. The rest of the card, though, there's a lightweight 10-round fight. Undefeated American prospect out of Dallas, Texas, Maurice Hooker, is going up against Colombian Darles Perez. For those of you who don't know Maurice Hooker, pretty good prospect. I'm not calling him a blue chipper, but pretty good looking prospect. There's some potential there. 21-0, 2 draws, 16 KOs. He had an 85-7 amateur record. I believe he won some Golden Gloves tournaments here in the United States. For those of you over in the UK and stuff, Golden Gloves, that's basically, that's one of our national tournaments here. It's a big deal. So if you're winning even regional level Golden Gloves tournaments, you know some boxing. So it'll be interesting to see what Hooker does, but this fight doesn't belong on a pay-per-view. It certainly doesn't belong on a pay-per-view. I mean, maybe as an opening bout, right? So this might be the opening, but I'm not sure exactly what order this fight's going in. But it doesn't belong on the freaking card, in my opinion, not on the televised part. Also, in another 10-rounder, Curtis Stevens, top 10 middleweight, going up against James De La Rosa. For Stevens, he fought on the Canelo Khan undercard there in T-Mobile earlier this year. I was also ringside for that one. And he was going up against undefeated Patrick Teixeira at the time. And a lot of people were starting to take a look at Teixeira, including myself. I had seen him fight a couple times ringside, and he was kind of this windmill fighter, threw a million punches. He was tall and rangy. He was starting to catch my eye a little bit. Stevens went in there and just destroyed the kid, just killed his confidence. I don't know if Teixeira is ever going to be back. And it got Stevens back in the picture. For De La Rosa, he was also on that Canelo Khan undercard, I believe, and he took Jason Quigley, undefeated middleweight prospect out of Ireland, 10 rounds. And I believe that was the first time Quigley had gone the distance, at least that long in a fight. So, this is an interesting matchup, but look, De La Rosa's chinny, and Stevens can crack, and he's hungry for another big opportunity. I think he's absolutely going to obliterate James De La Rosa. One thing, I got to give Curtis Stevens just a huge shout out. His tweet, his soundbite recently, and you guys saw, I tweeted this out, this quote, where he basically said, all you guys talking about fighting Gennady Golovkin, sign a contract or shut the fuck up. I love it. Also, Claressa Shields, 2-time American, I think middleweight, female gold medalist for Team USA Boxing. Basically the only star, you could say, from the Olympic Games the last 2 times in terms of going over there and being successful. She makes her pro debut. It's a 4-rounder. It's 4 2-minute rounds. So, again, I think that kind of fight, it's fun, and everything, but when that's one of the stronger features of the undercard, I don't know, man. Pretty weak undercard, but let's talk about the main event. And, I'm not going to get into this too much. Guys, watch my breakdown video, but just a couple of things about the main event. It is VADA tested. For those of you who are wondering, it is VADA drug testing. As far as I understand it, the ring will be about 20 feet by 20 feet, standard ring, and Robert Byrd will be the ref. I think Tony Weeks would have been a good choice, maybe the best choice. But Robert Byrd, I'm totally fine with. I'm very glad that it wasn't Kenny Bayless or somebody like that. I think that Robert Byrd will do a fine job. Still don't know who the judges are at this point. I'm shooting this. But Robert Byrd, good choice of ref. I want to make another point about the supposed size difference between Kovalev and Ward. And I talk about this in my breakdown video, but Steve Kim, I was filming episodes of 10 Count last week for UCN Live, and he made the point that Andre Ward won his gold medal as a light heavyweight, which a lot of you know, but in the Olympics, that's 178 pounds. So he was able on that stage at, I think he was 20 years old or something, to win at 178 pounds. He's not smaller than Sergey Kovalev. Don't be surprised if at the weigh-in Friday, Andre looks a little bigger than Sergey. Don't be surprised. I told you so. Now, one other thing you guys have asked about, is this fight going to be profitable? I talk about this in the breakdown as well. I don't see this doing more than about 250,000 buys. I think it would probably do more streams, more illegal streams than actual buys, which is the changing face of the pay-per-view model that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao destroyed last May. But I have a friend who's in very, very good with the people at MGM, okay? With the people who are in charge of booking things and putting on events, the event planners and stuff like that. They're in very, very well. Basically, he's a whale. I'll put it to you that way, okay? And he's been told in no uncertain terms that there is no buzz, no draw for this fight. And I told you guys weeks ago that there's going to be deals for tickets and stuff like that. I looked today, there's $50 tickets available. So if you want to come out, man, find a hotel. There's still rooms in town, right? It's not like all the rooms are sold out or anything. There's still plenty of rooms available in town, and there's still $50 tickets available at the time I'm recording this. So what did I tell you? It's going to get discounted, and there's going to be seats available. If you guys know brokers, call them and ask them. I know I can refer you to a guy, so if you have any questions about that, tweet me or something. There's a guy I can refer you to that is very, very good and can probably find you a package or something like that, so let me know. But in the end, I'm going to go with Andre Ward by close, possibly split decision. A lot of you have got me thinking Sergey Kovalev might pull this thing off, but I just think that given the way Vegas judges tend to score in matchups like this, fighters like Andre Ward, his style gets the benefit of the doubt in those close rounds. But do I think this thing is profitable? I think it is slightly profitable, or maybe a break even for main events. But for Rock Nation Sports, they're going to take a bath on this thing. And look, going back to last year for Canelo Cotto, which I was there for that whole fight week, I know that Golden Boy did very well on that card. Rock Nation, I don't know if they broke even. So Rock Nation's had trouble with some of these cards, man. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in the boxing business if they don't start making money on these cards. They kind of are out of their element and don't know what they're doing. If they have a long-term plan and they're willing to take these losses for the next couple years, okay. But at this point, man, look rough. But that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, share, subscribe. I will be there this week, and I'm going to try to do like some live videos or maybe like a vlog or something that I'll post up next week. But if I can, last time I was there at T-Mobile Arena, the internet was bad. I mean, really, really bad. And one of the assistants there brought me a little receiver and put it right in front of me to help, because I bitched. I was like, what's up with this? I can't do my job. They brought it right over and put it in front of me, in front of my desk, and I still got shitty internet. But if they fix that, I'm going to try to do some live videos, maybe a post-fight reaction video or something like that. So look out for that. But either way, we'll be back next week to talk about this thing. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the fights.